Thank you all for joining in. Today we have two sessions. In the first sessions, I'll be talking turn on PowerShell transcription via Microsoft Intune. Before we start, let me give a brief intro about me. So myself, Vaishnav, I have been in the industry almost 10 plus years, and I have experience in SCCM, Intune, Azure, and as well as the PowerShell automation tools. You can follow me in LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn handle. And with that said, we can start the today's session. So we have a few agendas today. The first one is we are going to discuss what is PowerShell transcription means. So after that, we will discuss in detail about the turn on PowerShell transcription settings in Intune. After that, we will jump into demo and we will create the configuration profile to turn on the PowerShell transcription. And after that, we will monitor the deployment in Intune itself. And in final, we will check the end user experience or the policy deployment status in the targeted devices. And after that, we have a Q&A session. You can post your questions also, and we will be happy to answer you over there. So before we start, I think we all know PowerShell. So I just want to give a quick introduction about the PowerShell. So as we already know, it's a scripting language. PowerShell is commonly used as an automating management of the systems, and it is used to build, test, and deploy solutions, and often in CI/CD environments. And as you all knows, PowerShell is a built in with a CLR language runtime model. So that is about the PowerShell, and we can talk about what PowerShell transcription means. So PowerShell transcription is a feature that allow you to record all your input and output of the PowerShell session to a text file. So I wrote few points over here. So what exactly it will do? So whenever we are executing a command, so let's assume some commands we are executing on a machine. So usually we don't know from where it is executing. Might be it is executed via user itself or somewhere. I think most of the guys are already in SCCM background. So some application based on PowerShell we already deployed to a machine. So we are not actually sure from where it is executed. So with that said, we can once we turn on this particular PowerShell transcription, it is very useful to audit. So from where these PowerShell transcriptions scripts are executed. And it is essentially to create a log file for everything that happens in the PowerShell session. So these include the commands and their results, which means if suppose I'm executing any command, so that will also record the command line and as well as the results and the particular timestamp period also. So why this thing can be done in an environment? So I think we all knows this is very useful for auditing and troubleshooting and analyzing PowerShell sessions, so especially for the environment like strict compliance policy and compliance and security policies are in place. So we do have several environment or several customer, they have a very strict policy. So we can't execute even a PowerShell command from our end. So they have to audit all those things. So from there, it will be very useful if you deploy this policy on particular device or a set of device or all the state. So after that, we will check on the PowerShell transcription settings. So basically, this settings is already available in Intune. So few points we need to note here. So this device policy includes two subcategories. I would say subcategory. This include the invocation headers and as well as transcript output directory. So if you are talking about the invocation headers, so it indicates that the command let log the timestamp when the commands are run. So it will also record the timestamp of the particular commands are running on a particular machine. So and as well as there is a transcript output directory of the device, which means we can give at output directory where we need to save all this transcript file. So these are recorded in a text file format, and for auditing purpose, we can directly use these transcript files. And apart from that, we if you enable this policy settings, Windows PowerShell will enable the transcripting via 2-3 methods. So it will also include PowerShell, PowerShell ISC, or any other application. If suppose some other application will leverage the PowerShell power, so that also will be recorded in the output file. So that is one point. And apart from that, we are enabling this policy via Microsoft Intune, I already told. So again, suppose if you want to do this manually, so how we can do this step manually? So it is as similar as if you are starting a PowerShell session and put a command like start transcript command let and command let in a PowerShell and executing a command. So it is as similar as this same manual command. So apart from that, we have few more points to discuss regarding the policy settings. By default, Windows PowerShell will record the transcript output to an each user's document directory. Again, so this is per user based, and as a production standard, these standards are normally the companies are not followed, because there is a we have to store this output in a specific file or location where limited people can access. So that is one point. And whenever the PowerShell transcript files are generating, so it will generate like PowerShell underscore transcript and the computer name of the executed policy and as well as the timestamp. So it will record in that format. And apart from that, if you disable this policy settings, transcripting PowerShell based application is by disabled by default. So if you are not deploying, it won't do anything, because as we already know, it is already by default it is disabled. And if you want to enable this policy again, so you can by manually I'm saying you can again start transcript command let and you can execute the command. So no need to not necessary if you really need to deploy this policy via Intune. So you can either do via this method as well. So one more point, if you use the output directory settings to enable the transcript login to a shared location. So suppose if you are logging, if you are saving your output transcript file in a shared location, so we have to make sure we have a limited access, which means some of the organization, they have a shared drive which is having everyone have access. So it is not recommended to kept the output transcript file in that folder. So make sure you have a certain restriction on the shared file or folder what you have already configured with the output transcript file. So that is one point. And the final point, when we check this policy in Intune, this policy exists in both computer configuration and user configuration policy editor, which means when you check the policy in Intune, you can see the two policies. One is based on device policy and one is user policy, and this is common, I believe. So whenever we are deploying any policy based on user or device policy take precedence over the user policy. So those are the few points I need to discuss before we jump into demo. It's demo time. So let me quickly open our Intune portal, intune.microsoft.com, and just click on devices. Windows. And again, we are achieving these settings via configuration profile. So you have to click on configuration profile and click on create, click on add new policy. And here you can select under platform, you can select Windows and later, and profile type. Here we are selecting settings catalog. Click on create. It will ask the basic details. So I'm just giving a unique name because I already tested this policy. That is the reason I kept one different name here. So turn on PowerShell transcription demo and click on next. In the configuration settings, we need to specify the settings what we need to achieve via this policy. And one more note over here, you can see, right? So in our testing, or again, it's Microsoft testing, we have discovered the admin are experiencing performance and degradation when more than 400 settings are applied in a single policy. Again, in production scenario, these are not possible, but just for an info, because we can accommodate multiple settings in a same policy. But as of now, there is a limitation for 400 settings that can be accommodated in a same policy. If you are doing more than that settings, it might be discovered some degradation or some policy conflict kind of, just for your info. So in the configuration settings, we are just clicking on add settings. And here we can see in the settings picker, there is a lot of uh, predefined categories are mentioned over here. So let me specifically search for PowerShell transcription. So PowerShell and click on search. So you can see over here, it's under administrative templates, and as you already know, it's PowerShell is under Windows components. So you can able to see this policy category, and you can um, click on here, and you can see there is two policy as I already mentioned. So you have a device policy and as well as a user policy. So if suppose you are deploying on user policy, and if you are deploying the device policy on the same machine, as I already mentioned, the device policy take precedence over the user policy. So in this demo, I'm just going to enable only this particular policy on device background. So click on the turn on PowerShell transcription. And this already includes, as I already mentioned, this already includes the invocation headers, which means the timestamp and all those things in the transcript output file, and as well as the transcript output directory of the device. So again, which means no need to give specific output directory if you are not really ready to, but as a best practice, if you are giving output directory, it will be very useful. So those are the two settings. By default, it will check. So after that, once you check, click on the setting, close the settings picker, and there is an option to turn on the PowerShell transcription. So currently it is disabled state. I'm just toggling to enable, and this is the settings we are just talked about, include the invocation headers. So if you are not really want to configure the output in the timestamp base, you can set it as false. So right now I'm just toggle it to true. And in the transcript output directory path, I'm just giving one path, which is our test device. So ctemp logs PowerShell transcription. And again, so if you are giving this path as a new path, which means this not even log PowerShell transcription file folders are not present also, this policy will create the file and it will put the output file in that particular location. So no need to create a separate file predefined. So with that, we are good here. So we can click on next. Under the scope tag, since it's a test scenario, I'm just keeping the settings as default. And if you really want to set any scope for this particular policy, you can all rights to do that. Since it's a test environment, we are just setting as a default. I think just a brief info about the scope tag. Suppose if an Intune admin is only responsible for the particular location, so it is not necessary they have all the scope to deploy to the entire tenant. So they will categorize in such a way that that particular Intune admin or the user, they have only have the permission on the particular location. That is actually meant by the scope tag. So here in this case, I'm just setting as default since it's a test environment, and click on next. Under the assignment tab, we have include group, exclude group over here. So I just want to give a brief info here also. So if suppose we are deploying the policy into a device group, and if you want to exclude some of the groups, right? So if you're deploying the policy in a device group, the exclusion group also should be in device category. It not possible if you are deploying include a device group and if you are excluding a user group, that can't be possible. So that is just an info. And here we are selecting one of our test device collection. So I'm just clicking on add groups, and here I'm selecting one of our HTMD text computers group. We only have one computer in this collection. Just select the device group, and you can see the device group is already selected and the present device count is only one. So click on next. And here in these settings, we need to verify all our settings are correct, and we have set all the necessary settings are we already predefined here. There is no much settings over here. We already mentioned the output directory files, and we have already turned on the invocation headers and turn on the PowerShell transcriptions. So once we verify all the settings, click on create. We can add the assignment later. Just let me try to create the policy. So you can see the policy got created on 11:44 today's time. So the only change what I did, I gave some time to Intune, at least 10 to 15 minutes, ample amount of time to figure out auto heal the tool itself. Apart from that, few settings change I did. I just changed the heading or the policy name to demo turn on PowerShell transcription, and after that, this is the change. Actually, I did it here over here. 1 second. Yes. So instead of the old folder which is already created, I just gave a new folder ctemp log PowerShell transcription. I think as you can aware, I previously gave PowerShell transcription, so I just added a S over there and tried to create the policy again. So that is the whole changes I did, and after 10 to 15 minutes, you can see the policy got success. And if you view the report, let me show it again. So if you go to devices, blade, Windows, configuration profile, you have to, and this is something error, the recent error what I'm facing. Some of the policies are still loading in the background. You have to give a few minutes to load the policy once again. So I'm just clicking on ready. and click on the recent created policy, you can see the report over here. So you can see the targeted devices results. So let me quickly jump on to my targeted devices or text device. So you can see the policy got apply on this particular device. To confirm, I'm just going into C drive and I have created the output folder over temp under log PowerShell transcriptions. So here I created the output folder. So as I already mentioned, so once the policy got enabled, you can see folders based on year, a particular date, year, month, and date. And in that you can see the PowerShell transcript and the device name, and based on which PowerShell command we have executed currently in this particular device. So to check on that, I'll just open PowerShell ISC, and I'm just trying to run few basic commands. Get what else? Yes, get date. So some basic commands I'm trying to run. So you can see the result over here. And also, if you check the output in this particular time, there is a transcript file is already created. If I open that, you can see the results and the command lines I executed in this machine currently. So in this way, it is very useful if you are enabling PowerShell transcription through a policy into your environment. It's very useful, and it's very easy to track whether if someone is running a policy remotely or something. Also, you can easy to track with this policy. So if suppose I'm running one more command, get something like Windows. OK, so I'm trying to create a get Windows update log and this machine. Let's see whether it will create the file or how much time it will take to create the policy output transcription. Let's see. So the command is executing now. Trying to close the yes. So once it is executed, you can see the process, whatever it is done in the background. You can see in the PowerShell ISC, and I'm expecting some log should be created. Yes, the Windows update log also created in the desktop folder, and as well as if you check the very latest transcript file will also provide the same output. So you can see, right? So this in this way, we can capture all the PowerShell execution to a device by enabling the PowerShell transcription method. So it can be anything. So right now, since it's a test device, I'm just showing it manually. If it is deployed via a script or a package or via SCCM, if you enable this policy, you can capture all these details over here. And I already have an ADMX CSP record, which is already provided by Microsoft. There also it is explaining the different ADMX policy based on the PowerShell command. So you can refer this also to learn more about the PowerShell CSP ADMS policy. So that's all I have for today. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat, and or otherwise if you unmute yourself, you can ask these questions as well.